What is going on, guys? Doing a little Sunday church run. We've got a special guest with us today. We've got my childhood best friend Dakota with me on my Ducati behind me here. And he decided to put some gas in our Ducatis. Old Paul, he's new to the Ducati game. He doesn't understand that these things get like, you know, riding them around like maybe 20 miles to the gallon, and they've only got a 2-gallon tank on them. So the range on them's only like, if your grandpa driving at about 90 miles is all you're going to get out of a Monster. And we just ran out of gas in the driveway, so yep. We're just monstering it out. It's a nasty, cruddy day here in Kansas City. Just wet and gross outside. No sunshine. It's like Bill Withers, ain't no sunshine. Good old song. Definitely ain't a Bill Withers lovely day. It's not one of those. Whatever Bill Withers is singing about, it's not that currently, right now. It is the yin and yang opposite. And it's muggy out. But that's not going to deter us from a damn good ride out to Blip. And then we're going to Westport Cafe to be trendy little hipsters and have their big old thick pancakes out there. We've been trying to make reservations for weeks now, and finally got the opportunity to go. So yeah, Dakota's my DC boy. He doesn't really live here anymore, and we just went up to Washington DC for the 250 years of America recently, and hung out with him for a few days up there, kind of saw some sights and did DC, and now he's back home, and I begged him to come ride with us to Blip, but he's back there on my Monster. Usually always when the weather's bad, I try and ride one of these or one of my Triumphs. My buddy, one of my friends has my green Triumph that I usually ride in bad weather because it's got really, really good bad weather tires on it. It's got those Bridgestone BT46s, which are like freaking apocalyptic tires. They just go anywhere, any way, any shape, any form. But we were talking about the good old days. We were texting, me and Dakota were texting last week, being really philosophical. It's like me and him, we both sold our souls to corporations, and we both like give our lives, like we work so many hours, we have such responsibilities, and the caveat to that is we've got toys and stuff like that, but we give our souls to these people. And we were talking about our childhood. I sent him an old MGK Mind of a Stoner song or whatever with Wiz Khalifa. You can only get that fucker on YouTube now, but I remember that was the song of like 2015, 2014. And it brought back so many memories of him picking me up in his 94, I think he had an Accord Honda. And he was the first kid on the block with a car. And he would pull up on everybody riding their bikes still, looking at them and being like, yeah, that's cool, guys. I just got to turn the key on this and it gets me where I want to go. I don't have to pedal no more. And we were talking about just the glory days of being like young, having no responsibilities, and just hanging out and having a good time. And the only thing that mattered was getting through the day of school. And after that, we were just wide open to do whatever we wanted to do. And we were thinking about how hard our parents worked to afford that life for us. Like, we had a lot of people we went to high school with that had really lazy, don't give a shit parents, and those kids never had anything cool. Our parents were pulling overtime. They were like trying to hit sales of the month to get a bonus to buy their kids a car, so that their kids would have that freedom that maybe they didn't have growing up. And we grew up with silver spoons in our mouth. We had swimming pools. I mean, we had a 30,000 gallon in-ground pool at my house my whole childhood. And as a kid, you don't really understand how special that is to have that kind of freedom of living in an early 2000s McMansion. And both of us did. Both of us had extremely successful parents that made our childhood really special for us, and it's only as adults that we really see the labor and hard work our parents did to afford us those lives. And we were just texting last week about that, like riffing about how special our youth was, and it was just this bygone era. You know, I can't even taste it, I can't even smell it anymore. I'm consumed by corporations and stress and problems to where there isn't peace. But man, back then all it was peace. You know, our lives were so padded with peace. And now it's just, you know, welcome my son to the machine. You know, just like the Pink Floyd song. But we've got some nice motorcycles out of it, that's for damn sure. So, got that going for me. But yeah, Dakota's probably my most special friend, one of my most special friends. Like, I hope to God we're going to each other's funeral someday. Just lifelong. If I ever killed anybody, he'd be the only one to know about it. So, one of those diehards, bro, I've got a problem, who am I gonna call? That's Dakota Bunch. And me and him will sit on the phone for hours discussing the problem and figuring out the best solution for it. Those are the kind of people that I want in my life. Everybody else is just noise. You know, I need those people that, hey, I've got a fucking problem. And especially someone like me, it's such a small pool of people that can solve any of my problems that you really cherish the ones that can, you know? Love me a Ducati. Nikki, we got her Paso running. She was going to be riding that today, but unfortunately either the stator or the voltage regulator went out on it last night. We rode our bikes. I rode this out to Knuckleheads last night, and she rode her 907 Paso, and we made it out there just fine. Bike was running great. I had just completely gone through the fuel system on that bike and rebuilt all the fuel lines to it. Everything is brand new. New fuel pump, new sending unit, new filter, like restored the gas tank on this thing. And I had just put the bike back together, put a brand new battery in it, got it running, and I didn't throw my voltmeter on there to test to see if the stator or the voltage regulator was working. I was just like, oh fuck, it's fine. And we drove it around a couple of days, you know, and it was just on battery voltage. It's crazy. It wasn't even the stator wasn't even charging it. So it was just kind of a fluke deal, but we got up off Nolan Road and I-70, and the bike died right as soon as we hit Nolan Road off of I-70 coming back from the city. And I pushed it over to Hawaiian Bros or whatever over there, down the walkway, ran it down the sidewalk to get it there, and then brought the truck over and jump started it and got it running good enough to get home until we can get it repaired, because those parts are extremely rare. Trying to find a stator last night, I found some weird Australian website that had one for that 900 motor, which is crazy because Ducati's made that same motor for like 700 fucking years. Why the stator is this, you know, its own thing for that bike is beyond me. You know, all these monster stators, whether it's a 600 or an S2R, all have the same stator in them. Which a stator just basically spins and creates alternating current, and then it goes through your voltage regulator, which converts it back to DC to charge the battery. So it's basically just a diode or a rectifier. There he goes. Yeah, baby. Yeah. Well, we've been Ducati and GT500 boys. We were just talking about the time we bought my GT500. We were both, I think I was like an 18-year-old kid maybe when we got my 14 GT500. And Dakota and I, we flew out to Louisville, Kentucky, and we found this car in Louisville. And it was sold by some high-end dealership. It's hilarious. You know, it was a very expensive car, but it was the cheapest car on the lot. It was a Ferrari dealership. So, you know, I'm going in there, you know, a Midwest kid, like, yeah, run me my GT500, and right next to it is a F12 Berlinetta, you know, that's Ferrari red with a red interior in it, and I'm just oogling over that. I'm like, damn. You know, and it was probably what you'd pay in taxes is what my car was worth on that car. But we were just talking about taking the salesman. It was hilarious. We had some punk little salesman with us. He was like, you know, one of those look-smaxing kids. Didn't really have anything other than a face on him. And we're, you know, young, wiry kids, and we've been around performance cars our whole lives. That's all we've been around. And we get the GT500 up there on a traffic way, and Dakota just clutch kicks it in second gear, and that bitch is just eating down the road. And that salesman's in the back seat on his phone, you know, back in the Tumblr era, doing God knows what. And he just like looked up, big old white eyes in his face, like, oh fuck. And that blower was just sitting there eating, just raping that car down the road. You know, back then, the 700 horsepower car was quite a bit. You know, it would get your attention back then. And especially with the gearing on that car, it just kept climbing. Car was built to do 200 miles an hour. And then shortly after that, Dakota and I went and got his 2012 GT500. It was beautiful, beautiful car. Only had 3,000 miles on it when he got it. And it came from Oklahoma, old red dirt, old Zach Bryan country. And we drove that car home, and Dakota was sick. And I got to drive it like almost all the way home. I just shoved that thing 6 forward gears, put her up in 6 at 100 miles an hour the whole way home with the radar detector on the dash and a couple of dash prayers. And we made it home at 100 miles an hour the whole way. Definitely not cannonball speed, but let me tell you, you start cooking 100 miles an hour through some of those Texas towns. Yeah, a lot of memories with Dakota here. We had our 2 valves back when we were teenagers. I had a 2002 Mustang GT convertible. Gray car, black top, black interior, just a gorgeous car. And then he bought in like 2015 a Mach 1, a 2003 Mach 1 Mustang. And man, that was the be-all, end-all of hot rods right there. It was a triple black car, black stripe, black interior, just absolute gorgeous, gorgeous car. We both still have them. Both of them need a bunch of restoration work on them, but we'll get to that eventually. But yeah, that was a lot of memories with this boy here. We've been through a lot of life and death together, that's for sure. Hit the old Benton curve, baby. I think he loves that monster right there. These things are so torquey and fun on the highway because they just bomb so well. Let's see if I can knee this thing down here. There we go. Nice 110 mile an hour knee down. These bikes are so fast and so nimble. Like this rev range from 20 miles an hour to 100, this thing just is king. After about 100, she starts running out of breath, but she's not geared for those kind of speeds, and it's a naked bike with no fairings, so. That's 5th right there, wide open, and it just pulls. Feel bad we've left Paul back there. He's so new to riding that this kind of bombing, he's just not there. Dakota, he's a world-class dirt bike rider. and does trails and events and racing, so that boy knows how to ride. Nikki, you know, she's been riding with me, keeping up with me for 2 years now, so Paul's getting there. It takes so long to get good at riding a motorcycle. It truly is an art form. You have to spend a lot of time in the saddle. You have to get up that confidence. And, you know, if you have multiple motorcycles, they're all different. So, like, learning one, like, surgically good is difficult when you have multiple. So, you know, it took me about 6 years to get good at riding. You know, and after that 6 years, I was pretty well versed, and now I think I'm on year maybe 7 or 8. I'm pretty confident. Definitely not a stunter. I'm not really a stunt guy. I'll do a couple little baby wheelies every now and then, but I definitely don't risk life and limb. I like my life and I like my limbs. They're very valuable to me. Dakota is actually the one that got me into motorcycling. I was always kind of a Ducati guy because I grew up watching Tron Legacy. There was like so many times that movie was on, and that Sport Classic in there was so alluring to me. And the way they portrayed that character is that kind of alternate lifestyle where, you know, you're not on a Japanese bike, you live in a shipping container full of glass and weird esoteric vintage motorcycles. And I just was like, yep, whatever the fuck that is, that's me right there. And Dakota, I went over to his house one day and he was like, Chad, check out this Ducati that's for sale, man. And it was like everybody was talking about it. They'd shared it on Facebook a bunch of times with each other, and I was the last one to know. And it was a carbon fiber Ducati Diavel with the CNC beautiful Marchesini CNC wheels on it. And if you've ever, I'm fixing my Diavel right now. In fact, I've got the forks in the shop being rebuilt, and I'll start vlogging with it soon. But that's my first motorcycle, and Dakota showed it to me, and it was so beautiful in the photos. It came from St. Louis. It was all laced up carbon fiber, looked like a beautiful black basket all laced up with that carbon fiber. And Dakota was like, hey dude, if you don't go buy this fucking motorcycle, I'm gonna go buy it. And I'm like, well, I don't even know how to fucking ride. I've never even ridden anything with a clutch and, you know, a standard motorcycle. And he was like, well, I've got that Grom over there, why don't you go learn? And I literally learned on the Grom. And he taught me on the Grom, and the next week I had that 160 horsepower motorcycle in my driveway. And I learned to ride on a Ducati Diavel with a 240 rear section tire. You know, just the most ridiculous clown motorcycle that you could learn to ride on. Leader bike power, massive chopper style 240 rear tire. And he talked me into it. And ever since then, I've just been addicted to these stupid little Ducatis. Love them. Love my little clattery Italian motorbikes. Yeah, speaking of the devil, my Diavel, we took it to Reno's. Well, actually, I took the forks out of it because the forks were leaking. I was doing big, nasty wheelies with one of my buddies down on Ward Parkway, and that thing showing off like an idiot. And I get a little rusty wheelie in that girl because she's a big old girl. And it's a lot of bike. It's the longest wheelbase bike that we have next to the R18. And getting that front end up is easy, but bringing her down is a whole nother story. And I brought her down really, really fucking hard on Ward Parkway. And then I noticed the next time we were riding it, Nikki was riding it, and the forks were leaking really bad on it. And I was like, oh, fuck, I blew out the shock. And I actually did blow out the shock. So we took the forks out, and Jared up at Reno's was working on them, and the plunger seized inside of it, and it needs a new plunger. So $1,300 later, I'll have some forks that are rebuilt in that bike. That's kind of the problem with owning these bikes. You can pick up a Diavel now for like $9,000, but it's still a $40,000 bike when it's new. Like, the parts are still expensive as hell to work on. You know, that's never changed. Oh, Supra. There we go. Targa Top Supra. Fuck yeah, dude. God, just cut me off, little meteor. Hey, Josh. Well, we got the whole gang out. I'm so glad that everybody came in today. It was nasty this morning. I was debating on hopping in the truck, but last week we did that. We hopped in the truck and did not ride out here. And everybody rode out here and the streets were dry and we felt like absolute schmucks. So. All right, kids. Welcome to Blip into Vlog.